Hey guys, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. My name is Ryan Chambers, and alongside my brothers Chris and James, we are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN. Go and use that promo code THPN the next time you go and use DraftKings Sportsbook and also Raycon. We thank you for being their sponsors of our episode, this podcast, and all of THPN. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? We doing okay?
Doing great. I woke up yesterday and the Stars were still on the hockey goings. Man, great start to the podcast. But yes, I'm happy the Stars are still playing hockey.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty much in the same mood, other than my game canceling their second biggest thing they ever made.
Oh my gosh!
But I don't even want to get into it.
Join that on our spinoff podcast, Gamer Boys. We'll get into that.
Gamer Boys. You at least have to tell us what game it was, James. What
It was
game
Overwatch.
Was it?
They were making a whole PvE campaign mode, and they canceled.
And save it for Gamer Boys.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we are here tonight because the Dallas Stars are still in the playoffs, guys. It's incredible. It's amazing what they've done. They're in the Final Four. They're one of 4 teams remaining in the NHL playoffs. They are going to be taking on the Vegas Golden Knights in a rematch of the 2020 bubble playoffs. This time, it's actually going to be in front of fans. So that will be even more fun for both Vegas fans and Dallas fans alike to enjoy. And for the first time this playoffs, the Stars do not have home ice advantage. So the games start on Friday in Vegas, and we will not get a home game for the Dallas Stars until this upcoming Tuesday. So we're going to get in.
So for the first time in the playoffs, we're going to get normal start times for every game.
Woo!
That is nice.
NHL finally figured it out. It only took them three
They
rounds
just had to get rid of half the teams.
Yeah,
No,
more than
over
half
half.
the teams.
They had to
Yeah, more
get
than
them over half.
3/4 of the teams. Okay, so we're gonna start tonight with we're gonna do a couple of things. I think because of how relevant it is right now, and because it just happened yesterday, I think we need to discuss the Coyote situation a little bit. We're not gonna go super into depth about it, but I still think we need to mention that a little bit because it is relevant news right now. And we're gonna dive into the Stars and Golden Knights series and talk about all the storylines of that, talk about players for the Stars, talk about players for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first off, I told James about this, but I did not tell Chris about this before we came on live. So it's going to be very fun to see his reaction and see how this works, okay? So I was on Twitter, I don't know, about 4 or 5 hours ago. And there was a call by the Dallas Stars admin on Twitter for a rope chain. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. So I added rope in from the podcast Twitter. And I was just like, what could we do even more that would be even more fun? And this was born. And I thought it would be interesting to do this. So I said, totally jokingly, by the way, totally joking. I wasn't being serious about this. Play the tequila song, but instead of yelling tequila, we should yell rope. And I tagged Shippy in it because I thought, this would be funny just to do. And I said, can we make this happen? And what does he do? He actually says, I'll play it. Y'all just got to yell rope. And then when you look at the comments and all the retweets and stuff like that, other than this one Sean person who said, I've got a request. And I said, how about no? But there's Lindsay and Chris and Mr. Christopher. Everyone's on board. And they're like, we got to make this thing happen. So what we're going to do right now is we are actually going to practice the tequila with the rope. So here we go, gentlemen. Chris?
I'm uncomfortable.
Good.
I told you would be.
Here we go. We're going to make sure this audio works. Hopefully y'all can hear this.
Isn't this copyrighted?
I don't care if we get demonetized. I don't care. Here we go.
We'll get a strike.
You're just going to have to figure it out, Chris.
Well, hopefully our channel is still up.
I mean, if we keep talking over the whole thing, it'll be harder for them to do like this.
I love Chris's beat. It's
It's
so fun.
uncomfortably long.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Here we go. Here we go. Ready?
Well past
Hold on. It's gonna be totally off because we're online. But here we go. Right here. Rope. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. All right.
I think Ryan is officially old now.
Yeah.
I pulled a dad jokes.
It's
and
not
yes,
that funny. Not
I
that funny.
showed my age. I know. I don't care. Okay. If it happens, it happens. We got to practice it. Okay. Anyways, let's get into the actual real podcast stuff here. All right. So today, I know it's kind of hard to transition.
Chris is just dying.
Okay. All right. I'm over it. Here we go. Anyways, we got to get into the Coyote situation.
Another
a
funny
bit.
situation.
Well, not as funny.
No,
James.
it's more funny. It's more
It's
funny.
pretty
No,
funny.
This is just sad. This is just sad, guys. Like for real. Okay, so
Add to the point of being funny.
So Arizona has spent the last 2 years on this project they have entitled the Tempe Entertainment District. It went to a vote to the people of Tempe. It would cost the taxpayers legit nothing, according to the Arizona Coyotes, which is slightly true, but also slightly not true. And the referendum is what it was called to allow this district to be built, even though the Tempe, I guess the council voted 7-0 in favor of it. It was highly not very good for the Coyotes, and the vote went to crap for the Arizona Coyotes. So now they're back at square one, gentlemen. They do not have an arena that they said they were going to have built. They do not have anything, and they didn't even have a plan B at this point.
Yeah.
So what was your initial thoughts when you heard the news of this referendum failing?
Yeah, so they have come out and said that they are playing next season in Mullet Arena still. So we're not going to see an instant movement of the team like we've seen before. But yeah, I don't see how you keep trying at that point. I mean, the people don't want you there. The referendum, like, sure, it was on should we have this entertainment district? It was really on should we keep the Arizona Coyotes? And the people there where the arena would be said no. And I don't know how you can keep trying at that point. The only thing that would keep them there is their owner that recently purchased the team only bought it so that he could get the integrate sports betting with it.
Yeah.
But how hard are you really going to try on such a bad franchise since the beginning? I mean, it's not worth it. You got to move them.
It's my first thought out of my head was yikes, because like it really felt like they were just talking it up like, oh, they're just gonna pass on the vote. It's gonna be easy.
Sounded like a slam dunk.
We're gonna build the stadium here. We're gonna keep them here. But now it's like, now we're gonna start up all the rumors. All Coyotes to Houston, Coyotes to Toronto, wherever, you know.
Toronto.
Might as well. I mean, seriously,
there's been talks
what's
about
going
it.
on? Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
That would be fun.
2 Toronto teams. Oh,
Yeah, I like it.
I think it'd be fun.
No, I can't stand one fan base already. All right, it's just like
the only
imagine
problem,
having 2 teams from the same fan base. I mean,
well, it splits the fan base in half. You see, then we only have to deal with half of what the Toronto Maple Leafs are now.
Perfect plan.
But then the hardcore fans are twice as worse. There's twice as many of them because they're twice as worse.
Nope.
Okay. But okay, so anyway, the Arizona Coyotes came out with a statement and said, "We are very disappointed Tempe voters did not approve Propositions 301, 302, 303, talking about the entertainment district, the arena, all the stuff. As Tempe Mayor Corey Wood said, it was the best sports deal in Arizona history. The Coyotes wish to thank everyone who supported our efforts and voted yes." So, along with this, they have made a lot of push to say we're staying in Arizona. We're staying in Arizona. We're not going anywhere. This is the first time that we've kind of seen from the organization that there's no attachment to the Phoenix area at this point, which kind of signifies that there could be a possible relocation of this franchise. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, in the Coyotes' most recent post that they made, they did show a little bit more like, hey, we're going to try everything we can to stay in Arizona. So kind of back to some of the original language, but not nearly as strong as it has been. I mean, we've heard even as much as Gary Bettman saying the team won't move for 30 years at some points. So,
if they had gotten that passed, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a change of position, and it looks like relocation is definitely much more on the table. But I think the main thing keeping them there is really the owner. I don't think that their owner wants them to move.
James?
I don't think he has a choice. Like you said, Chris, I mean, it went to a vote that the city as a whole voted on, and they said no.
And it's not like it was close either. It
No,
was
it
not
wasn't.
close. It was not like it was like 51 to 49%. It was not close. So, I mean, if you're Alex Mararello, the owner of the Arizona Coyotes, you got two options. You keep fighting to try and find something. You beg the Phoenix Suns to let you use their building. You just keep fighting, or you just say, drop it and say, screw it, I'm done, and you sell the team. I mean, we've seen all of these groups right now that put in bids for the Ottawa Senators. I mean, could we see maybe one of those groups offer a contract to Alex Mararello and say, hey, are you sick of dealing with this? We'll take the team and we'll relocate them so you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah. I think the most likely thing that happens is that he sells the team and they get moved probably to Houston.
James, what do you think?
I think the league's going to try even harder to keep them in Arizona because, I mean, they've doubled down to the point where the team is playing in an arena that's smaller than most, like, minor league arenas. Honestly, it is. They're going to try to the very end to keep them there. Yeah. And it's going to be probably another couple of years of this joke of a team that lives in Arizona.
My thing is they're already at rock bottom and they just lost again. They were playing in an arena smaller than the Allen Americans arena.
Mm-hmm.
The Allen Americans have a higher attendance than the Phoenix Coyotes do. And they just lost the biggest thing that they've been doing for the past 2 years. How do you keep trying?
Yeah, and here's something I was actually thinking about too. I'm glad Brooke was thinking about this. Did y'all see what Keller's dad tweeted?
Yeah,
basically Clayton Keller, who is their best player, not even close, hands down. He's a Phoenix Coyote through and through. His dad basically said that he wants out and he doesn't want to be in Arizona anymore. So, and then that also brings up the fact that it's going to be really hard for the Arizona Coyotes to get anybody to come to Arizona and play hockey for them. Any free agents, that is.
I mean, they already had most of the players on their team were from the AHL. I mean, honestly, like they're still good players. They're still solid players, but it's obvious that they are not at the same level as some of these other teams. And they're not supposed to be necessarily tanking right now either. They're supposed to be, I mean, they've been in like a rebuild for like years. It seems like it's like worse than the Buffalo Sabres rebuild. Like that's where we're at. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
It also makes me think that Gary Bettman expected this to fail, because when Seattle was introduced into the league, they could have moved anybody to the Central Division, but they obviously moved Arizona because of all the problems that Arizona has had. And Arizona is now in the Central Division. So when it comes to relocation, we've seen all sorts of cities be thrown out there. We've seen Kansas City. We've seen Quebec City. We've seen Hartford, Hamilton. This team, if it gets relocated, is not going to Canada. I'm sorry. And it's nothing against Canada. Canada would fully support another hockey team. It's just the fact that the money there just does not work. And that's something that I don't know the exact numbers on. I just know that there are people that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to being an economist that tell me that these things don't work in Canada. It just won't do very well. So the option that is the most likely is, of course, Houston, Texas. It's the fourth largest metro area in the United States, according to Zach, and I did know that. And it's the largest metro area that does not have an NHL team right now. And on top of that, you also have to consider the guys up at the top of the NHL. When you look at the Board of Governors, the chairman of the Board of Governors is the owner of the Boston Bruins, his name is Jeremy Jacobs. He's been an owner for a very long time. He has a huge amount of influence over the direction of the NHL and what it does and where it goes. He has said in the past that a team in Houston really seems like a good idea to him, and he would really love to see a hockey team in Houston. Houston has really rich people who have said in the past, we want a hockey team here. They have a building there in Houston already that is able to accommodate a team. Arizona does not have one. So the thing that the three of us were talking about over our group chat this afternoon was, how does this really affect the Stars and how does it look going forward? Is it a detriment to the Dallas Stars? Is it a good thing for the Dallas Stars? We've talked about it before, but what's your ideas on all of this as I hit my microphone?
Yeah, so the Stars definitely wouldn't like it. I think that's kind of apparent. I think there's some foresight with the whole marketing campaign that's going on for the Stars. The one state, one team thing, Texas hockey, all that is kind of trying to draw Texas as a larger audience rather than just DFW under their umbrella. So they would fight it hard. But you brought up a good point in our group chat that Gagliardi probably doesn't have a lot of influence over the Board of Governors and would be tough for him alone to restrict that from happening. And then just a personal anecdote from living in College Station. The people in Dallas know what hockey is and they know who the Dallas Stars are. Houston people do not know about the Dallas Stars. They don't know that hockey's a thing. So
right, is it really a detriment to the Stars if they throw a team in Houston because most people don't even know who the Dallas Stars even are?
It's definitely a detriment because there are still some Houston hockey fans, and you still have that as a potential market. If Houston does decide they like hockey, the team that they would go to would be Dallas because it'd be the only team in Texas. So it's the loss of a potential market in the future. But I don't think you would lose a lot of Stars fans that become Houston fans just because Houston has a team now. But Houston would be able to make a lot more people aware of hockey for sure.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, more than what y'all think, honestly. I think that it grows the sport as a whole in Texas in general. It's going to make more people pay attention to the games that happen between Houston and Texas. I mean, that's going to happen. And also, like, every other major sport also has a team in Houston, and they don't have a problem. I know hockey is not as big, but if you're looking at hockey growing and you want hockey to be able to compete with them, I mean, it's going to be fine. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a big deal either, and it will definitely grow hockey in general. I mean, to not have a team in Houston already, honestly, is kind of criminal. I mean, like Zach said, the fourth largest metro area in the nation has no hockey team. That's kind of dumb.
Well, and back when the WHA was a thing, the World Hockey Association, they had the Houston Aeros. And a lot of people don't know this, but one of the greatest hockey players of all time, Gordie Howe, is played on a line with two of his sons for the Houston Aeros. So I think it would work just fine. I really do.
And actually, older folks in Houston do actually know more about hockey than the younger people. And I've actually seen that as well. Some of the older people in hockey, they remember the Aeros, and whenever I bring up hockey, they always talk about Gordie Howe. So it's definitely a market down there with even just a little bit younger Houston population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest thing is that the team has to stay in the Central Division. So you're looking right in the middle of the United States, pretty much.
Right, and there are other options rather than the ones I mentioned. Ardell in the comment section is saying Salt Lake City. I would agree with that one actually, because they've got the only team I think they have is the Utah Jazz, right? That's it. So that might be a good option for hockey to go to, and I don't know, that might be something that you could look into. Kansas City. I don't remember if I mentioned Kansas City, but Kansas City back in the day used to have the Kansas City Scouts. It was a long, long time ago. I believe that was another WHA team as well. And what else am I thinking? Some people have said Portland, but again, that's more of a Pacific Division side. But again, they could still make it work. So it's not like there aren't options here, you guys. It's not like there's not options. I just don't see a way that Arizona can find something in Arizona. At this point, I would throw up my hands and say I'm done.
All right, we talked about that too long. Let's talk about the Stars.
Okay. All right. So fun things. Okay, that was not as fun to talk about. All right. Dallas Stars versus the Golden Knights. What do we want to get into first? I guess let's just do this first because this is the obvious biggest storyline. Pete DeBoer returns to the playoffs in the conference final, and he's on the opposite side now. He was on the other team in 2020, and now he's with the Stars. That's going to be an interesting storyline. How is that going to affect the series, you think?
Yeah, and everyone also kind of talks about the potential advantage that brings having DeBoer here. I mean, he's just 1 year removed, so he probably does know a lot of the players and maybe strengths and weaknesses on them. But overall, I think that's pretty overstated. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, you can have that knowledge, but the ability to exploit that is a lot different, I feel like. So I don't think that's a huge advantage for the Stars. It's a fun storyline for sure, though.
Mm-hmm. I just like getting the rematch from 3 years ago. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, the year that everyone says, "Oh, that year didn't matter. That doesn't count," and the same teams are right back where they were.
Yep.
And the other thing about this too, about your argument, Chris, is John Stevens, former assistant coach with the Dallas Stars just last year, is an assistant coach with the Vegas Golden Knights right now underneath Bruce Cassidy. So, I mean, it goes both ways. I don't think this is a weird thing. I think this happens in the NHL all the time where this coach was with this person and this coach was with this person and they know the tendencies of the players and stuff like that. I agree with you, Chris. I don't think it's that big of a deal. For you, James, I think that this is definitely exciting because this proves something that I was hoping it wasn't the case, is that the 2020 bubble run was a fluke. And I think this run for the Dallas Stars kind of validates them. Now, I would also argue that this run by the Vegas Golden Knights also validates them in the fact that last year was a complete fluke. It was a complete fluke. They lost over 500 man games to injury, and then Pete DeBoer basically got fired because of that reason. I mean, I would argue that that's the case. So
yeah,
one of the worst, most injured seasons ever.
Yeah,
ever.
I don't think they needed validation.
And still almost made the playoffs.
I think it just proves that last year was a fluke, like you said. And it wasn't really a surprise, in my opinion, that Vegas went away from Pete DeBoer. They've done that their entire existence. Yeah. I mean, one thing happens the other way against the person, boom, he's gone. I mean, the way they just got rid of Fleury just immediately, no questions asked, that's just the way they operate their team. And it's interesting, and it's worked for their entire existence. So kind of a weird juxtaposition to the way the rest of the league operates, and that's being friendly, smiling, trying to keep everybody on your side. The Knights don't care. They're just, we're going to do whatever it takes to win, and they literally do.
So what are some other things that y'all want to talk about? Do you just want me to throw some things at you, or is there something specific y'all want to talk about?
The biggest thing that needs to be an advantage for the Stars is goaltending in this series. We don't know who the Vegas goaltender is going to be. It could be a number of three people. Last series, they were playing Aiden Hill, right? That's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this goalie from who knows where. They probably found him in some college campus and drug
He
him onto
used
the
to
team.
be, I think he used to be with the Sharks, but before he was with the Sharks, he got traded from the Coyotes.
Yeah.
So that's where I really know him from, is from the Coyotes. He got traded to San Jose, I believe. I'm not sure about that one. And then when they had all of their goaltending depth problems with, Robin Leonard being out and Logan Thompson, he's been injured a bunch this year. They went out and got him just as some goaltending depth. So
yeah, but he played
he's been
fantastic
good.
last series. Last year, his goals saved above expected was over 5, I think. And in
That's
comparison,
fantastic.
last series for Otter, he was more than -2 under. Maybe might have been under 3. So that can tell you can take that a couple of different ways. You can say, okay, Aiden Hill's playing great and Andre's playing bad. Doesn't look good for us. Or you can say Aiden Hill's playing way above where he actually is and Otter's way below. That's going to even out at some point. I tend to go towards the latter. I don't think that Otter is going to suck as bad as he was last series. And that's, to be totally honest, last series was bad for the Stars for a lot of it. Jake Ottinger playing that bad, 0 goals from Jason Robertson. One of our best defensemen, Esa Lindell, played the worst game of his life.
And we still won the series.
Yeah, and I predicted before the series started, I predicted 5-1 for the Stars. I said, if we play as good as we played the last 2 games against the Wild, we're going to blow them out of the water. And we stunk it up. I think that's as bad as we could have played a series. We still won in 7. Yeah. So
and that's totally credit to the Kraken. I mean, they showed why they were such a high offensive team in the regular season, and they really blew us out of water. And that's why I think Vegas is a better matchup for us. I mean, they're 14th in the league. I mean, versus the 4th of the Kraken in the regular season.
The difference, I think, here, if we play the same way we played against the Kraken, Vegas is going to expose it. And the key for me is just that Vegas actually has a top line. I mean, you look at Jack Eichel, Ivan Barbashev, and Jonathan Marchessault. I mean, that's
been really
top
good
line. And Jack Eichel especially has been fantastic. He's going to get the McDavid treatment from Heiskanen, no doubt. But we have to play a good series against this team. This team was number 1 in the Pacific Division for a reason. And like you said, James, their stats are not that good. Overall, they're not top 10 in offense, defense, power play, or penalty kill. And they are still number 1 in the Pacific. That's a team that knows how to win. And they got a coach that knows how to win. And that's how they play. They play every game as an individual game, and they find a way to win it somehow. And the Stars have shown that they can do the opposite of that.
Yeah. The very nice thing for us going into this series is that the season series with the Vegas Golden Knights, we never lost. Now, we won twice in a shootout. We did win twice in a shootout, but they never beat us. We won the other game in regulation. So there's something to be said about the Stars not having lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah. I don't think that's going to be a blowout for the series, but it definitely shows that these teams play hard. And obviously with the 2 shootouts, it's going to be close every game, I think.
Yeah, this series is going to be extremely close. Even if the Stars are playing good. If the Stars are playing at the top of their game, Vegas is still going to match it. And when we played them, I think all 3 of the games, I think they didn't have Mark Stone. And someone else was injured too. So this team that faced injuries too. The Stars didn't really face very much injuries throughout the season. This team did, and they are still top of the Pacific.
And one of the things I wanted to point out with both of these teams is that they're both relatively healthy. I mean, I know we lost Pavelski for a period of time in the first round, but he came back in the second round and was a freaking monster. And then I mean, other than goaltending depth, which they've already had to deal with, injuries in the goaltending depth, so it's not really anything new for Vegas. But they've got a couple of goalies who are doing good enough, and maybe even in Hill's case, really well, that they're winning games for them. So I don't know how. Maybe that's a really big thing for both of these teams, is that they've been able to be healthy for most of the playoffs, and especially for the Stars for a majority of the regular season.
I mean,
for sure.
One thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit was the other matchups that both teams have gone through. Very different teams. The Gold Knights went up against the Jets, and the Jets kind of rolled over and just died.
Yeah, the Dreads beat themselves.
Yeah, and then they play the Oilers, and the Oilers just can't match them 5-on-5 at all. Like, it's not even close. They killed them 5-on-5. And for the Stars, I mean, we had to play the hardest hitting team, and the one that wants to injure you. We somehow scrapped out of that one with only one injury, which is honestly fantastic when you think about it. And then we played.
Felina was playing.
Yeah, and then we played the deepest team in the NHL for the past like however many seasons. I mean,
and they were still a physical team as well. Yeah. That's noteworthy.
Yeah, and that's why we're going up against Vegas. I mean, you're looking at, okay, Vegas is a hard-hitting team too. I'm not worried about it. We just played the other two physical teams in the conference, and we're just getting the third one. We're playing. I think three physical teams.
Well, and this goes back to Chris's point. When you look at Minnesota, they had Kaprizov. That was Kaprizov and Zuccarello. That was about it. And Kaprizov was coming off of an injury. All right, so they didn't really have a top line. Seattle had a better top line in general with those three guys, but it was still no match for the Stars top line. When you look at this team, when you look at Vegas, and Chris, like you mentioned, Barbashev, Eichel, and Marchessault, that is a very formidable top line that the Stars have not met yet. They haven't met a team with that, what I would argue has just as much firepower offensively as they've got. So, and then on top of that, this Vegas team can forecheck. Maybe not to the extent that Seattle did, because they don't have to rely on forechecking as much because they can do other things. But they can still forecheck, and they can still make you hate your life every time you get hit into and crunched into the boards. So I think that's a very good point that both of y'all are making, though.
And the interesting thing I find between these two teams is that they kind of play a similar style. So they're going to get out of their zone quick. But when they are playing in their own zone, playing against a cycle, they're doing what the Stars are doing. They're locking down the slot, forcing perimeter shots. That's what they did against McDavid. I feel like that's why they shut him down and why Aiden Hill played so well.
He wasn't asked to be huge.
Yes.
He was just asked to make the routine saves.
Exactly. The Oilers are not trying to get – they're not going to force an interior chance if they don't have to. McDavid will himself. Everyone else is not going to. They're not going to look for those screenshots. They're not going to look for the deflections. They're not going to look for the dirty goals. They're looking for the pretty plays. They're looking for the plays where you have to add a move in EA Sports. That's what they're trying to do.
It's Trevor Zegras, this whole thing.
They're trying to Trevor Zegras. The Stars can get interior and can force themselves interior against a team that plays well, and they can look for those deflections, get in Aiden Hill's face, give him a bump every once in a while. I really feel like that's the biggest advantage the Stars have, just matchup wise, is that they can play against a team that locks down the slot. And I think that's going to be extremely good against Aiden Hill. It's going to be difficult to do, though, as well, because I pointed out the biggest advantage for the Stars was their goaltending, at least on paper. The biggest advantage on paper for Vegas is going to be their blue line. I mean, compared to the Stars, Vegas blue line is blowing us out of the water. They have Zach Whitecloud as their fifth defenseman. He'd be in our top four easily.
But so let's talk about that for a second, because I think that is noteworthy, though. I agree with you. When you look at the D-core as a whole, I 100% agree with you. And then the fact that Colin Whitecloud, who's one of my favorite non-Dallas Stars players, is their fifth defenseman. They have a very deep lineup with Shea Theodore and with Pietrangelo. But who honestly has the best defenseman of both D-cores?
Yeah, we have the best defenseman. Yeah, for sure.
And he can play 30 plus minutes, and he proved it.
He's going to. It's the problem. He's going to
3 times, and then on top of that,
with a bucket on his head.
That's true. He's wearing the fishbowl. He's wearing the fishbowl. And then on top of that, Suter is playing really well. He's probably playing the best hockey he has as a Dallas Star. And then we've seen the pairing of Lindell and Miller actually do okay here. And I think that Chris doesn't agree with me. I think Miller can come in and he can be formidable. Now, here's the thing. If Miller does not do well with Esa Lindell, I think it's time to take Thomas Harley and elevate him in the lineup. And I know it's not the right time to be doing that, but in sheltered minutes, he's shown, Harley has, that he can handle the pressure. And I think, especially playing with Esa Lindell, who is a more defensively minded guy, and he's used to playing with somebody more offensively minded, like Klingberg, that if Harley goes in there and plays with Esa, that they'll be fine. Now, that's all based off of logic and nothing off of any kind of results. So that's the scary thing. You're just making assumptions, and you know what happens when you assume things, right?
The 3 people in last series that had the least amount of ice time was the Stars' 3 bottom defensemen.
And that's bad.
I think it's way too homer to think that Harley, even as good as he's playing, I agree, he's playing very well. He's not matching up to Braden McNabb or Shea Theodore or even Whitecloud.
He can't play with Lindell anyway, though, because they both play on the left side, and neither of them can play both sides.
Yeah, Lindell cannot play both sides.
Lindell, as obviously proven, we've never put him on the right side. Never.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this could be an option. And I know that Lindell, like you guys have said, that he is not used to playing the other side, but still, I still think that that's an option that they could try.
It is more likely to get Harley with Hakanpää than Lindell with Harley.
Yeah,
I don't think Hakanpää is going to play game 1, guys. I don't.
I don't know if we'll see. It seems like he was doing 1 game on, 1 game off, having 4 days off. I mean, actually, it's like 6, right? Because he didn't play the last game.
He didn't play game 7.
He might be here for game 1. Now, the rest of the series, no clue. Absolutely no clue. But he might be here for game 1.
Yeah, so let's get into this and let's talk about this, because this is another thing that Stars fans have been talking about and what we should do. So what do you do with the defensive pairings? Because when you look at the games we lost, the worst games we played in the Kraken series was game 3 and game 6. Who is in both of those games? Hakanpää. And especially in game, was it game 3? Maybe it was game 5. I don't remember. There's a specific game where he and Lindell just absolutely sucked it up. I think that was game 6. It was game 6. Okay. You take him out, not because he, you were going to scratch him because of his bad play, but because he literally can't go because of his injury. You throw Miller in there. The Stars play arguably what a lot of people are saying is the best game of the best team game of the season.
The big problem is that you're making Miro play 30 minutes a night, which he can do. We don't know how many times in a row he can do that. He's
not going to be able to do that every game. He can't. Yeah. No one physically.
I don't
can do
know.
That.
I don't know. That's Miro Heiskanen, man. But and also they've said before that it was a lower body injury with Hakanpää, which tells me that he's probably skating a whole lot slower. And for a dude who already skates slow, if he's skating slower, he's going to get gassed by every single player on the ice.
Yeah. And lower body injuries, especially for bigger guys, is even worse. I don't know what the right answer is, because when you don't play Hakanpää,
the right answer is that you play Miro and Suter 30 minutes a night every night.
That's what you're doing. That's the question. That really is the question, though. It's funny, but if you don't
that's
have
what
Hakanpää
we're gonna do.
Miro is going to play 30 minutes a night, and he might just collapse at some point. So,
we made it halfway there. We made it halfway there, and Miro's only had to do it like 2 times.
I think he did it 3 times in the last series.
Okay. And
one of them was in overtime.
It's not like in the games that he didn't get to 30 minutes that he didn't get 25 plus. Like he plays every game, he plays 25 plus, right?
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
The dude is like the third in the regular season. He had the 3rd most time on ice played overall, like 3rd most. So he's going to play a lot. He obviously can play a lot. He did it during the regular season. He's going to have to play more for another however many games it takes.
Another 3 weeks.
I think Hakanpää is going to slot back in if he's healthy. If he's healthy enough to go, I think he's going to go.
And that'll be Miro's off night. Regardless if we
only 27 minutes a night tonight.
and if he can't go, I think it spells trouble, and we're going to need to rely on Otter a lot more.
And our power play.
Right. Okay. And that's a perfect segue. Let's get into that, because when you look at the stats for both the teams, they're pretty even, honestly. When you look at the general stats, not at analytics or anything like that, but you look at goals for per game, goals against per game. When you look at the shot differential, the hits is a little bit more so
That's
in
the most
Vegas's favor.
lopsided one. That's the only one the Stars don't win too.
Right. But the one that's even more lopsided, James, is the one you just mentioned, is the power play percentage and then the penalty kill percentage. In the playoffs, this is the playoffs, the Stars on the power play are 31.7%, and the Vegas Golden Knights are 17.5%. Okay, so that is a very large difference between the two. When you look at the penalty kill, 83.3% for the Stars and 60% for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, you do have to look at those numbers with kind of a magnifying glass a little bit and kind of step back a little bit from the magnifying glass, because they literally did just play against the best power play in NHL history, I would argue. And they got slaughtered on the penalty kill. I mean, the Stars would have too if you had gone against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
I don't think that's true, but okay.
I think we would have.
I don't think the Stars would have been slaughtered on it. The Vegas Golden Knights were not good in the regular season on the penalty kill either. I think they were like 17th. The Oilers had the two best matchups in round 1 and 2 for their power play.
Yeah.
And they absolutely lit them up. And that's why, honestly, it was so close. When one of your 100-point players just disappears in the playoffs, that's a problem.
The only problem I have is that going on as we've gone through the playoffs, the calls have been less and less and less and less. The last 2 games, the Stars had 2 power plays, I think, against the Kraken, and they did very good. They were disciplined well. The game 7, though, there was plenty of chances for the Stars to have power plays, and
they dominated that game and got 1 power play.
The game was dominated completely by the Stars, and the calls were even. I mean, obviously that's wrong, but that doesn't mean the refs are going to change it. I mean, we know this is what happens in the playoffs. Whistles kind of get put away, except for that one season. When was it? Last year? I don't know. But yeah, you can't count on calls. You're going to have to win at 5-on-5 again. We were able to do that against the Kraken. When we're playing bad, we have to play good 5-on-5 and do it against Vegas. I don't think we're going to be able to rely on power plays.
Well, and the thing about these non-power play games, if for lack of a better term, they're going to be a lot closer, right? I mean, the Stars are used to blowing out opponents in the regular season. I mean, 4-1, 5-1, 6-2, stuff like that. That happened on quite a regular basis. They did not win very many 1-goal games. So I think in order for the Stars to be successful, they're going to have to figure out how to win these 1-goal games. I know that game 7 against Seattle was technically a 1-goal game, but in all reality, it wasn't.
That game was 1,000% a 1-goal game, right?
It played as a 1-goal
90% of the game was a 1-goal game. 90% of it. It was 0-0 for 36 minutes, and then it was 1-0 for another 20.
Yeah.
That's 1,000% a 1-goal game.
And even after the second goal was scored, it still played like a 1-goal game.
I'll take that.
I'm going to agree with James. True. I think that's a point in the Stars' favor.
Okay.
But yes, I agree with you. I mean, we've lost multiple overtime games already.
Yeah, I mean, two overtime game losses is not bode well, especially when we think this series is going to be very close with 2 good defensive teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in order for the Stars to be successful, and I mean, this is Vegas. This is not Seattle. No offense to Seattle, and this is not Minnesota. No, okay, all offense to Minnesota.
Yeah, all offense.
But there you go. But I really feel like they can't go out and lose the first game of the series in this series. It's just a gut feeling. They got to go out and maybe you can lose game 1 and win game 2, but you cannot lose both of the games in Vegas. You have to win one of those games, I feel like, in order for the Stars to win the series.
They have to show up and be ready for game 1. I mean, the first period of both of our game 1s has been the worst period of the entire series, except for always that second period, but whatever.
Yeah.
It goes against my point. The Stars have to show up prepared and have to show up and impose their will on the other team. And we haven't seen that yet in a game 1. And we really need to see that, especially in Vegas, who has one of the rowdiest buildings in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, and it's got to be the whole team. I mean, we tried the one person showing up in the Seattle series. Pavelski showed up, scored 2 goals, and we gave it right away instantly.
Yeah,
you gotta all show up. You gotta be playing defense. That's all I want. Show up and play defense, bare minimum.
I want to get on this too a little bit because this was something that I actually noticed from several members of the Stars team, all the teammates of his. Robertson still has not really gotten it going to the point that I guess where our expectations lie for him. Let's say that. He's still been very good. And especially me, I'll admit, I've had to eat my words on him. It just feels like something's off and he's snake bit right now. Yeah. So what the team did is after their third win in Game 5 against the Seattle Kraken, they all went to the defense of Jason Robertson. All of them went to the defense, and he even got some. Sorry, Dad came in the background and distracted me. I was just like, what? What did he bring you,
got
James?
me an oatmeal cream pie.
Oh, I hate you. It's not fair. Oh. Okay, I'll take the L. This is my second L of the night. But I think in this series, if the Stars are going to win this series, Robertson has to get on the goal sheet. He did not have any goals, like you mentioned, Chris, in the series against the Seattle Kraken. Now, on the flip side of that, he has had 12 points. He's had 12 points in 13 games in the playoffs. So you can't really be mad at him because he's setting people up, right? Okay. But I really feel like he's got to get on the in the goal column in order for the Stars to win this series.
And I agree, disagree? On the power play. I agree. I think he's going to get power play goals. I really think he is. I mean, I know we're not going to get as many chances, but we're going to get some. Against a bad power play, we should be able to get a couple in this series, at least more than last.
I just don't know.
I think we have to see more from Jason Robertson. And the weird thing with his play in the last series is it was really up and down. Like the expected goal stat, sometimes he's doing his normal thing, has really good advanced analytics, and then other games in the series, it was gone. I mean, he wasn't there. He wasn't on the list.
Yeah, I mean,
so he has to be consistently going to scoring areas and consistently getting chances. And he has to do that every game, especially when you're in a slump. You have to do all the right things and hope that one goes in at some point and that dam can break.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of snake bit and a combination of him not playing great sometimes.
I mean, he's 1,000% in a valley right now. I mean, he has 37 shots and his shot percentage is 5.4, which it was like 16% in the regular season. So it's substantially dropped. His shots are just not going in. And especially in the Seattle series, I mean, half of them were getting blocked. So he's got to keep shooting. And I think the goals will come eventually.
Yeah, it's similar to what I think of Jake Ottinger. It can't really get much worse than it was last series. So I think we're gonna expect more from him. We're gonna see more from him, and we better hope we will because we're gonna need it if we're gonna beat Vegas. They're a much better team than the Kraken were.
With Ottinger, I don't think worse is the right word. I think the right word is just inconsistent. I mean, up and down all through the series. He had good play, bad play, good play, bad play, and you could say the same thing for Robertson to a certain extent. He was more consistent than Ottinger. It's just he hasn't had anything go in for him. And I'm gonna say this, and I'm stealing it from Razor, but it just feels like if you get one, the dam's just gonna completely explode for him. He's gonna get one, and then he's just gonna score 12 goals in 3 games.
And that's what I'm hoping happened with Otter in Game 7.
I mean, and with Robertson especially, we saw this in the regular season too. This is kind of how he just plays. He goes on huge streaks and he's up and down. I mean, and he still gets assists when he's down, and that's what he's doing. He's still getting assists. He's the second on the team in points still. The goals are going to come eventually. I just hope it's not too late before they start coming, because that can happen too.
That's the big thing. There's no
Yeah.
doubt at some point he would start scoring, but we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Series aren't very long.
All right. Well, we're getting close to an hour. So I want to mention, we're going to mention two more things here, and then we'll wrap things up here for tonight. Just interesting fact here. Did you know, Sheldon Cooper style, who is third in the Dallas Stars in points in the playoffs? Any ideas?
I have it
Domi.
pulled up. I know.
Okay, well, James, then don't say it. Chris
already
any
guessed
ideas?
it.
Oh, Domi? Really?
He's right.
Did you already know that?
I did, but
Dang it. It was no fun.
it's not in front of me.
Okay. But seriously, Max Domi has been very good. And I didn't even realize that he had that many points. Did you realize that?
Yes.
Yeah, he assisted on like every Pavelski goal, didn't he?
That is true.
There's half his points.
Yeah, Domi was fantastic in that series. He was seriously otherworldly, and you saw that every time he played. His stick handling was incredible. His passes were perfect. He is really extremely good. And if Sagan's a little snake bit in that series too. If Sagan could find the back of the net, he might be above Jason Robertson right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Sagan scored a goal in that series either, did he? All five
He
were on
almost
the power
scored the
play in the
prettiest
first
goal
round.
of the playoffs with that dangle.
He looked like Rope Hands on that. He did. Okay. Anyways, so last two things to mention. First, the first thing of this is I just want to tell people to shut up about all this, that the fact that only Sunbelt teams are remaining in the playoffs. I think this is good for hockey. Honestly, like if you're talking about wanting to grow the game, especially in the South where there's a whole bunch of people who don't even know what ice looks like, then this is something that should be celebrated. You've got Dallas, you've got Florida, you've got Carolina, and you've got Vegas. I mean, all of those markets are what you would call non-traditional hockey markets, and all the teams are doing fantastically. So I don't understand this whole argument on Twitter about some people saying, "Oh, well, the ratings are going to be super bad and no one's going to really watch," and stuff like that.
They're just mad because the Canadian teams got eliminated.
Yes,
They were supposed to be good. They were both like favorites for the cup, and now they're out in the second round. Cry about it.
But they're also just wrong though,
James.
Because if you look at the TV ratings for the Stars Kraken game, the Game 7, which the similar game they compared it to last year, was a Monday night Game 7 with the New York Rangers, one of the largest fan bases in the NHL, and it was almost the same. I think the Stars Kraken was 2% less viewership. So it's just incorrect. They're just wrong too. The other thing I'm seeing about the Sunbelt teams is that 3 out of 4 of them have no income tax. So they have an unfair advantage.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. That's so stupid.
Yeah, so that's really dumb.
Cry and whine, you little babies. Come on.
So first of all, the first thing they say is, "Oh, I'm just stating a fact." First of all, no, you're bringing it up because you want it to change. Everyone knows that. You think it's unfair and you want there to be a rule about it. What about the rules against players getting endorsement deals in Canada? I can guarantee you the Stars players are not getting nearly as many endorsement deals as they would if they played for Toronto or Edmonton or something like that. So are we going to take that into account? No, that's just stupid. So the people trying to say that we have an unfair advantage, every team has different advantages and disadvantages. Sucks that one of your disadvantages is having a terrible government. That's not our fault.
Jeez. Shots fired. Dang, Chris. Oh man. Okay. All right. And the last thing I kind of want to mention here tonight before we wrap it up is the player who's probably been the best offensively for the Dallas Stars. We've talked about Miro. We got to mention Robe Hintz. I know we joked at the beginning of the podcast with the whole tequila thing, but he is seriously not being considered enough, in my opinion, for the Conn Smythe. And I know all the betting odds and they do stuff based off of, oh, well, this team is more likely to beat this team, so this person's not going to win this Conn Smythe because this team is worse. I don't care. He's not getting enough national attention like Robertson has this year. Robertson has gotten the attention that he deserves, and I would argue that he's no longer overlooked or underrated. Robe Hintz is absolutely getting overlooked, and not enough people are talking about him.
Yeah, and
So
Art Ross odds, I think a lot of sports books had him at like 10 or 11.
Conn
So,
Smythe.
Conn Smythe, sorry. Yes. Conn Smythe. Too many names. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that's a pretty good bet. If you want to put a couple of bucks on Rope to win the Conn Smythe. There we go.
There you go. Right. Had to think about that for a second.
I mean, he's been ridiculous. He has the second or third best shot percentage in the playoffs right now. Once you get like past like 30 shots, there's some people like Pavelski who has like a 33 on like 17 shots, his 8 goals. But those are anomalies. The fact though is he hung with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl through the first 2 rounds. He did. He matched them point for point
against better defenses.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Against better defenses. That's very true.
I don't know what more I have to say. I mean, he's going up like points wise. He's fighting against the best players that we've seen, probably the best players in this decade at least. It's like, or in the coming decade, like he's matching them perfectly in the playoffs.
And those points you're talking about, James, he's got 9 goals, 10 assists, and 19 points in 13 games. Absolutely monstrous numbers. And even if he gets 2 points on Friday night, he eclipses, I think it's Connor McDavid that has 20 points right now. So
he needs 1 more point.
And he's 1 more point to tie him and 2 to beat him. And McDavid's out of the playoffs. So
he has more even strength. He has more even strength points than McDavid does. And he's tied with Leon Draisaitl with even strength.
So that we need to sing the praises of Rope Hintz right now. He absolutely deserves it. So
he does everything.
Did that earlier.
He just does everything.
Yeah, we did. I guess we did kind of. Okay. Anything else, guys? We could go on for another hour, but I mean,
what's
Johnston.
Your pick?
Oh,
Who
yeah,
wins the series? Who wins the series and how many?
Oh gosh,
James, go.
Stars in 5 because it happened 3 years ago.
Ryan,
Chris. No, you go first.
Stars in 6. A little bit of homerism. If I was being honest, I'd probably say Vegas in 7. I think you can't go back to Vegas with the game 7. I think that's the last thing you want to do. I think Vegas is going to be the best arena that we've seen all season. Their fans are crazy. They're weird. They scream a lot. It's really loud in there. Don't go back in 7. Stars in 6.
I think it's going to be. I'm going to be a homer. I mean, we're a Stars podcast.
I said Stars in 5.
Yeah, that's the most homer thing I've ever heard.
If that happens, I'm a genius. Okay.
Stars in 3. I'm going to say Stars in 7. These teams are both too good. They're too close to similar. The stats say that. I mean, The Athletic released an article today, and that the odds were ridiculous. How close it was. Vegas, I think, has a 6-point percentage margin over the Stars. It's 53-47. That's what they say, and that's like nothing. Like the difference between that is nothing. So
you think the Stars win a game 7 in Vegas?
I do think they would win.
With
a game
Otter
7
in net, you win game 7 in Vegas.
Yes, he likes to play a villain. So that's kind of what I'm betting on, is he plays villain in game 7. Don't ask me how the games are going to go. For all I know, it's going to the Stars are going to win the first 3. Vegas is going to win the next 3, and then Dallas is going to win the last game. I don't know, but it's going to. We'll see how this goes. But
I think
the
best series by far.
It's going to be really fun. And honestly, at this point, guys, I really want to win the Stanley Cup, but I'm not disappointed.
No, shut up, Ryan. Shut up,
Ryan.
Shut
if
up.
they lose right now, it would be the worst thing that could possibly happen.
We've come too far with Joe Pavelski and Ryan Suter and Jamie Benn. We're not losing.
Sagan, throw Sagan in there too.
He's a veteran already
now.
won a cup technically.
I'll pull a classic Ryan. This is the last year. This is it. This is it right here. It's never going to happen again. This team right here. This is it. Even though almost all of them are coming back, but this is it.
Oh, screw you both.
They can do it this year, okay? They can and they will.
Keys for game 1. Otter has to be great. We got to get an Aiden Hills grill. I'm done. Not talking anymore.
All right. Anything else, guys? No, James. Okay. All right. Those of you that are listening live, we appreciate y'all. 17 of y'all are crazy enough to be up at 11:19 on a Wednesday night. Thank y'all for listening. For those of you that are listening afterwards, we appreciate you guys as well. There's even more of y'all. Go ahead and check out sarcasticremarks.com for all of the latest stuff on our podcast. If you like what you're hearing today, please consider leaving us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to your podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube or anything like that, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, all of that stuff. Let us know your predictions down in the comment section below. And I can't even think because both y'all are so stupid. And go and check out sarcasticremarksshop.com. It's the best way to support us in our merch store there. We'd really appreciate it if you guys would do that. And once again, thanks to Raycon and DraftKings for being our sponsors. Along with Chris and along with James, my name is Ryan. They're both doing touchdown, so we're going to do. I guess I'll do touchdown too.
Yes!
Touchdown! 7 goals in game 1 for the Stars is what I'm betting. And we hope you guys have a good, fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. And we will be with you guys on Friday. Go Stars!